Part 25. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 241. There was a crazy scream, and the whole lobby was in this screaming storm. Brandy and the other two felt dizzy as if their heads were hit hard. At this time, the human-faced monster had transformed into a spinning top again and rushed towards Brandy, madly seeming to want to kill Brandy. Brandy's dizzy head made it difficult for him to control his body. At the critical moment, he suddenly fell to the ground, rolling like a donkey, avoiding the knife light of the spinning top flying head-on. Bang! Another muffled sound, the knife light of the human-faced flying squirrel chopped deeply into the ground, and both kitchen knives were stuck on the hard marble floor. And at this time, a huge foot suddenly stepped on its head. Puff! Like a balloon. The human-faced rat was directly stepped on and exploded. At this time, Brandy was panting, 2 lines of blood flowed from his nose, and he sat on the sofa with an embarrassed look. He patted his chest with lingering fear. It's so dangerous, too dangerous, I almost died. This experience frightened Brandy like never before. He never thought that the place where he worked would become so terrifying. Even when he encountered a strange existence last time, he didn't have this fear of facing death. After all, it was just a nightmare, and he didn't know anything else. But this change made him realize that the Wanchaiwu was a very, very dangerous place. Dong 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 dong. Just when the 3 people abroad thought that the matter was over, a strange sound came from the corridor again, which made the 3 people change color slightly. Bai Lan was pale on the ground. Anything else? This dong dong sound was very strange, as if the drums were constantly ringing and approaching them from the corridor. At this time, their eyes also saw what it was. It was a strange creature, about 1 meter tall. The body was like a big drum, and his hands were pitch black and covered with scales. The feet were slender and snow white, like bones. The head was a strange faceless one, and the 2 hands were raised by it, patting their stomach. Like a piece of music, the drums kept ringing. The faces of the 3 people, vodka, changed. As the drums sounded, they felt their strength was beating with the drums. Every vibration made their bodies stiffen, and this vibration accelerated faster and faster with the sound. The faces of the 3 people suddenly showed a look of fear. They felt something was wrong, and death seemed to be approaching them quickly. If they didn't make changes, they would definitely die under this resonance. The first to react was Absinthe, and his body changed instantly. Endless black smoke permeated from his body, and he turned into the corrupt ghost of the past. He opened his mouth, and the next moment, a spiritual scream broke out, covering the strange creature that beat the drums. With this strange scream, the drums were interrupted. The faceless being's head unconsciously looked towards Absinthe, as if he was very angry because the drumming was interrupted. But before he could get angry, a shadow had already enveloped him. The huge body of Fortune rushed in front of him like a truck and kicked him. The legs filled with black light were like a huge piece of steel. With infinite power, he kicked the front of the strange drum. Boom! Pay 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 papa! An unbearable roar erupted from the front of the drum. The terrifying sound made the 3 people in the lobby of the Wanchaiwu dizzy. The bottles and glasses of the Wanchaiwu also exploded in the sharp drum sound. The lobby became a mess in an instant. However, the strange drum-shaped existence was also shattered by Vodka's kick. The huge black light exploded from the body of the drum, and there was no resistance at all. Vodka is a master of the human immortal level. Even from the perspective of strength, he has already entered the peak state of the 2nd level of the human immortal in his prime. Even though he is not yet in his full victory period, he still has 60% combat power. He is the strongest existence among all things except Lin Yi. He kicked the drum-shaped strange existence into pieces with one blow, and everyone was shaken. Involuntarily, more blood flowed from the noses of Vodka and Brandy. Absinthe on the side had a distorted face and his body was changing. He was attacked twice in a row. He couldn't even maintain his basic image. He was very angry. He walked towards the wreckage of the drum-shaped strange existence that was kicked to pieces, and stomped on the fragments with his feet. Damn it, damn it! How dare you! Absinthe, dancing with his hands and feet, vented wildly. His body was filled with black smoke, and his eyes were full of resentment and anger. Silently watching Absinthe, which seemed to be out of control, Brandy's face turned pale, and he also remembered what Lin Yi said to him. Absinthe is a vengeful spirit, he will never change. He represents the fear of death and resentment, so you must always be vigilant against him. Brandy watched quietly without making a sound, and at this time, strange changes began to occur in the Wanchaiwu. The broken glass returned to their original place under an invisible force. The corpses of those strange beings lying on the ground quickly decayed and gradually melted into every corner of the Wanchaiwu. The Wanchaiwu seemed to have swallowed up all the debris without leaving any. At this time, the Wanchaiwu regained its calm, the light smoke slowly dissipated, and everything became clear. It was obvious that the mutation tonight had passed. Ringing. As the door of the Wanchaiwu opened, a figure walked in. The three people in the Wanchaiwu were startled and looked at the direction of the door with horror. But when they saw the person who came in, they all breathed a sigh of relief. It was their store manager Lin Yi, and Brandy had already trotted over. He said with an exaggerated look, "Manager, you are finally back. We were scared to death just now." Lin Yi frowned and looked at the three of them. "What's going on? What happened?" "Yes, we were attacked by a strange existence again just now." Brandy told Lin Yi everything they had experienced. Lin Yi frowned when he heard the content. He was not concerned about the strange existence that appeared in the Wanchaiwu. It sounds like those things have very low combat power, and they are obviously different from the strange beings he encountered several times before. What he really cares about is the three strange beings that appeared outside the Wanchi house. And the huge strange being that appeared at the end and swallowed all three strange beings. The eyes alone are as big as floor-to-ceiling windows, so you can imagine how terrifying the other party is. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 242. That kind of existence, he felt a deep fear from the bottom of his heart. Obviously the power of the strange creature has exceeded his imagination. He looked at the three people and waved his hand. "There should be no more strange existence tonight, you all go to rest." After receiving Lin Yi's order, Brandy and the third person all had their own thoughts and walked towards their bedroom on the second floor. Lin Yi returned to his room and sat on his chair, with a trace of thinking in his eyes. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow circled M. It is obvious that there is a huge conspiracy in the north of the city. I hope you don't find me, otherwise it will be troublesome. You can ask Zhang Ling tomorrow if there is any conclusion to the matter. The situation in the north of the city has basically been settled. After Lin Yi eliminated the corpse mutant monsters in the three areas, he did not intervene again. Occasionally, he would take action when he encountered some lone corpse monsters. When all the corpse mutant monsters involved in the entire city were cleared, he called Zhang Ling to inform him that his mission was over. Today, he spent a lot of energy. After thinking about his actions for the day, a black slate appeared in Lin Yi's hand. The slate was not big, and it was engraved with a strange thatched house, a mysterious strange object. Put it in the yard tomorrow and have a look. Move the thatched house. Lin Yi was a little concerned about this strange object, because he felt that he seemed to have caught something. He took a deep breath, and a trace of worry about the future appeared in his eyes. In the Prime Minister's mansion of Honglian City, Dong Gong Taiyu had a gloomy face and listened to the report below. On the screen in front of him was the information summary report from the Security Bureau. This time, all the monsters that appeared in the north of the city are mutated corpses, which is related to the last missing corpse case in the suburbs of the north of the city. The first types of these corpse monsters were all monsters with red hair all over their bodies. But after that, the people and ghosts killed by them all mutated and formed new corpse monsters. According to our investigation, there are obvious traces of human beings behind the first batch of corpse monsters. But it is unclear which force it is, and no organization has claimed responsibility for this matter. The total number of deaths in this incident is more than 300, all of whom are poor people in the slums. All the corpses have been secretly transported to the crematorium for incineration. Purchase and clean up to the maximum extent, and there won't be too many traces left on the surface. The external propaganda will use fire and attacks by unknown organizations as information confusion to avoid causing panic. Dong Gong Taeyu nodded with a gloomy face. You go and do it. The screen dimmed, and there was a tablet in front of Dong Gong Taeyu. He was looking at a post on the screen at this time. The above is a description of the influence of Feng Shui and luck on people like the Emperor. At the same time, what happened tonight has been written down to verify the Feng Shui and luck. Many people left messages below, speculating that the Prime Minister of the Empire, Dong Gong Taeyu, is unworthy of the position and should step down. Only in this way can we avoid the recurrence of these things that shake the entire empire. Moreover, this post has linked various recent events to Dong Gong Taeyu. This is obviously planned and premeditated, and a hint of gloom appeared in his eyes. His voice rang out in this empty office. How is the investigation going? A person walked out of the shadows, his whole body wrapped in black. You can't see his true appearance, only a pair of eyes are exposed, and the murderous aura is overwhelming. We have investigated, this is just an ordinary person. Although he studies Feng Shui and various ancient histories, he has no power at all. This information is indeed researched by him. He is a history professor at Honglian University. He published a paper on this subject a long time ago, although it was rejected by the paper institution. Dong Gong Taeyu frowned when he heard this. Have you investigated his origins? Have other forces contacted him? We have used all our connections and conducted investigations on his family and 3 generations of his family. There is nothing strange. He is just an ordinary native of Honglian City. Dong Gong Taeyu nodded. Keep watching this person. There must be something wrong with this person. Also investigate the people who answered and reposted this post. Maybe someone is using this person's knowledge to add fuel to the flames. Yes, sir. The secret guards of Dong Gong Taeyu's family are also his truly trustworthy subordinates. Each of them is an elite person who has spent countless funds and energy to train, involving people from all aspects. The black figure disappeared in the shadows and had obviously left. Dong Gong Taeyu's eyes showed a trace of solemn light. The theory of Feng Shui luck is false, but the theory of dragon veins and dragon energy is true. According to Tang Shenzi, my dragon energy has weakened due to the changes in the world, which led to the series of events. Then I must find a way to increase my dragon energy, otherwise if I continue, I will not be able to bear this matter. In a short period of time, Dong Gong Taeyu has lost at least 1/10 of the people who were originally loyal to him. This is his 30 years of accumulation, and he lost 1/10 in such a short time. It was very difficult for him to accept, but he had to accept it. He wanted to find a way out now. Thinking of this, Dong Gong Taeyu slowly stood up and walked towards another courtyard of the Prime Minister's residence. Soon he came to a delicate courtyard. Dong 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 dong. He knocked on the door, and a voice came from the courtyard. Come in. Creak. Dong Gong Taeyu pushed the door open and saw Tang Shenzi lying on a recliner, his face very calm. Prime Minister. Tang Shenzi stood up from the recliner, with a faint smile on his face, looking at the gloomy Prime Minister. This way. Tang Shenzi said and went to the corridor of the ancient house next to him, where there was a small table and cushions. This corridor looks very similar to the corridors of ancient Japanese courtyards, where people can sit and rest. Donggong Taoyu and Tongshenzi sat on the cushions on both sides of the small table. Tongshenzi waved his right hand gently on the small table, and a set of tea sets appeared out of thin air. He picked up a jade pot from the tea set, and a faint blue glow appeared on his hand. Countless mists gathered quickly around him and flowed into the jade pot. In just a few seconds, the jade pot was filled with clear water. At this time, a faint flame appeared on Tongshenzi's left hand holding the jade pot. The water in the jade pot quickly boiled after a minute. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 243. Tongshenzi's right hand opened another small jade box in the tea set, which contained some light cyan mysterious tea leaves. He picked up a jade spoon and placed the tea leaves into 2 teacups respectively. The tea leaves just covered the bottom of the teacups. He picked up the jade pot with his left hand and poured boiling water into the teacup. The tea leaves quickly melted under the boiling water, and a rich fragrance hit your face. The Prime Minister's agitated heart seemed to calm down. He couldn't help but frown. This tea is so fragrant. I have never smelled such fragrant tea. Tongshenzi smiled slightly on his face. This is Lingren tea. It has a natural and mellow aroma. It can replenish the spirit, calm the heart, exorcise evil spirits, and has various magical effects. If the Prime Minister likes it, I will give this jar to you later. Donggong Taoyu smiled slightly. Then I will be disrespectful. I really like this tea. Tongshenzi's eyes were calm, and he didn't know what he was thinking in his heart. Donggong Taoyu didn't know how this Lingren tea was grown, otherwise he would never want it. This uses the human body and spirit as the soil, and all negative emotions of fear and resentment as the water. Tea leaves collected from Lingren tea trees that grow. The two of them quietly took a sip of the spirit tea. Their bodies felt comfortable and their spirits seemed to calm down. After a long while, I heard Tongshenzi slowly say, I don't go to the 3 Treasures Hall for anything. What do you mean, Prime Minister? Come here. There is indeed something going on here this time. As he spoke, Toji Yateayu took out his tablet, opened a web page and placed it in front of Tongshenzi. You can look at this. Tongshenzi looked at the tablet, picked it up and browsed it slowly, frowning. I see, Prime Minister, you feel the danger and your position is beginning to be unstable. Donggong Taoyu did not deny it. Yes, my dragon energy was indeed affected by the second change in the world, which is why so many things happened. So now I want to increase my own dragon energy. Do you have any solution? Tongshenzi frowned when he heard this. Increasing dragon energy is not an easy matter. The Emperor is the creator of destiny, the master of the dragon veins of heaven and earth. He also has the dragon energy in his body, and is invulnerable to all laws and untouchable by all laws. Although the Prime Minister is not an ancient emperor, he still has a dragon spirit in him. It's not a simple matter to influence this dragon energy. That requires paying a huge price. If the cause and effect is involved, it may even cause death on the spot. This matter is very difficult, and I'm afraid my master wouldn't agree to it. After hearing this, Taoyu Donggong keenly grasped a piece of information in Tongshenzi's words. A huge price has been paid, and cause and effect are involved, which means that the master behind the Tongshenzi has the ability to do this. But they are worried about the huge cost, so they won't agree. Thinking of this, Donggong Taoyu already knew in his heart, it's not that I can't do it, it's just that I don't want to do it. Then just offer enough chips so that they can't refuse. Thinking of this, Donggong Taoyu's eyes shone brightly. I have to do this. What do you want as the price? Tongshenzi frowned when he heard this, and took a deep look at Donggong Taoyu. Prime Minister, are you sure you really want to do this kind of thing? It's extraordinary to be involved in affecting the dragon's energy. If it's not done well, there's even the threat of backlash. Donggong Taio looked serious. Since I said it, I will naturally do it. What do you want to do this for me? Tong Shenzi took a deep breath and said after a moment of reflection. This matter is of great importance and cannot be decided by me alone. I will report it to the teacher. If a decision is made, I will reply to the Prime Minister as soon as possible. It will take about 3 days. Donggong Taio nodded when he heard this. 3 days. Okay. Looking at Donggong Taio's leaving figure, Tong Shenzi's eyes filled with a faint smile. It's done, but it still needs to be delayed and endured for a while, otherwise the Prime Minister will not be so easy to fool. We have to make him anxious, and then we need to start the second thing. But there can be no traces of us this time. White gloves, let me see if your so-called weird force is qualified to be on an equal footing with us in the Red Lotus world. In a mysterious and strange illusion, there are countless black buildings here, like a small town. At this time, there was a huge palace in the center of these black buildings. Sitting on the throne of the palace was a figure shrouded in black robes. His eyes looked at the 3 figures below, and a cold and indifferent voice sounded. How is the contact with those ancient sects going? One of the figures stood out. He was shrouded in a black robe and his face could not be seen clearly. Chief, we have contacted one of the sections. They want us to do a favor, and of course they'll pay enough. What to do? They hope that we will cause chaos in Red Lotus City within 3 days, preferably with a large number of casualties. I feel like they are carrying out some kind of conspiracy. The man in black robes on the throne smiled coldly. Haha, these ancient sects are still dogs who can't change their habit of eating shit. Still thinking that they are the masters of the world, wanting to influence the development of the entire world behind the scenes. It's a pity that it's no longer their era. They want to regain their glory, but they are just looking for death. Promise them to create a special feast. I know what these ancient clans want to do. So let's start preparing and complete our ultimate goal of white gloves. Yes, leader. A new conspiracy seems to be about to happen. But all this has nothing to do with Lin Yi. After a good night's rest, he regained all his energy. Sitting in his exclusive seat, Lin Yi enjoyed a rich meal to satisfy his hungry stomach. Because he was busy with various events, he didn't eat much all day yesterday. He had a good meal early this morning. After 3 pounds of steak, he felt satisfied. The warm heat flowed from the stomach to the whole body, and quickly became a part of the body in the operation of the spirit. At this time, Lin Yi's liquid has reached 10%, and 1/10 of the distance to 100% has been completed. Ring, ring, ring. Accompanied by the ringing of the welcome bell, a figure walked in. The figure was Zhang Ling, who had come to the Wanchaiwu early, holding a box and a brown paper bag in her hands. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 244. He looked at Lin Yi, who had just finished enjoying the meal, and smiled slightly. Mr. Lin, yesterday's task has been given instructions. This is the reward from the instructions given above. Inside the box are the last 2 layers of the powerful Vajra seal. Inside the cowhide pocket is a Imperial Bank savings card and various formalities, totaling 1,000 gold coins. The extra gold coins are part of the compensation for the temporary recruitment mission last night. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Lin Yi's brows jumped when he heard this. Sure enough, the Empire is very generous. At this time, Zhang Ling took out another report and placed it in front of Lin Yi. Mr. Lin, this is the report of this mission. It contains the headquarters investigation and reasoning information on this matter. You can take a look. After all, this matter involves Mr. Lin, there may be subsequent troubles coming to our door. The headquarters is very concerned about this matter. If Mr. Lin has any clues, please try to inform me. Lin Yiwen nodded, don't worry, I understand. He himself could see that there was something wrong with this matter, and he didn't believe that a force of the level of the man in black wouldn't be able to see it. The things have been delivered, so I'll take my leave now. It was a smooth cooperation with Mr. Lin this time. I hope we can continue to cooperate next time if we have the opportunity. A bright smile appeared on Zhang Ling's face, and her whole person was filled with an aura of youth. Clang. Brandy at the bar looked at Zhang Ling with a smile on his face, and the cup in his hand fell on the bar table without holding it for a moment. This voice immediately attracted Lin Yi's attention. Seeing the heart-shaped brandy in his eyes, Lin Yi couldn't help but roll his eyes. Ouch, this guy is so stupid. Zhang Ling looked at Brandy's appearance and knew what had happened to him. Smiling slightly at Brandy, he turned to look at Lin Yi. Mr. Lin, I'll take my leave now. Lin Yi nodded, okay, walk slowly. Ring ring ring. The welcoming bell rang, and Zhang Ling quickly left Wan Chaiwu. At this time, Absinthe mysteriously came behind the Brandy. He stretched out his hands, and his cold hands suddenly placed on Brandy's shoulders. The cold instantly stimulated Brandy, making him startle suddenly. Ah! He turned around instantly and saw Absinthe with a strange smile on his face, her whole face only 5 centimeters away from his. A series of weird smiles. What? Do you like this little girl very much? Do you want me to help you? I'm very experienced. Absinthe's words are full of a sense of temptation, especially the emphasis on the word experience. When Brandy heard this, she couldn't help but feel very moved. Girls like Zhang Ling, who are heroic, are her favorite type. Brandy suddenly noticed Lin Yi's gaze, and suddenly became alert and looked serious. I'm not interested in her. I still have to work hard to make money for my boss and pay off my debts. Absinthe continued with his twisted smile, that's really disappointing. Brandy looked at Absinthe's face, and suddenly realized that his thoughts had been exposed by the other party. Anger arose in my heart. What are you doing standing here? Go to work and clean up for me. The door will be open soon. Vodka in the distance looked at Brandy, who turned his face faster than turning the page in a book, and couldn't help but widen his eyes. This guy really looks like a store manager, he's always so cruel and ruthless. Absinthe's face froze, his expression changed with anger several times, and finally he silently turned around and walked towards the lobby. Start wiping down tabletops, chairs, and other lobby furniture. At this time, Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction and opened the craft paper bag. There is a golden card inside, which is the VIP card of Red Lotus Empire Bank. You can only open an account with 100 gold coins. Put away the bank card, put the document bag on the table, and raised his hand to pick up the report next to him. After carefully reading the above report page by page, Lin Yi couldn't help but be secretly shocked. The above content is very shocking. First of all, the identities of those red-haired corpses have been almost investigated. All of them are corpses that were missing last time in the cemetery in the north of the city, more than 200 of them. Each body was wearing tattered black and white shrouds, and their features were very obvious. According to the investigation, these traces seem to be related to a certain force, but the specific force is not specified. At the same time, those corpses that mutated after death can be determined to be related to the Second World Change. After a large number of life forms die, an area of resentment will be formed. This area will attract a large number of strange forces to appear, causing the resentful spirits and corpses to mutate. According to official speculation, a large amount of resentment will attract the attention of beings from other worlds. This revealed that some strange powers from another world had descended on the Red Lotus world, causing the final mutation of these corpses and resentful spirits. Seeing this, Lin Yi couldn't help but shook his head, If that's the case, isn't the cemetery the most dangerous? That's where the dead are placed, and it's inevitable that corpses filled with resentment will appear. Just when Lin Yi was considering this possibility, a small group of men in black had arrived at the tomb in the north of the city. There are at least 100 of these men in black, but only a dozen of them have reached the highest level of martial arts. Pure white bells appeared in the hands of the dozen top-level warriors, and each of them had one. The other black-clothed men were holding black boxes. They quickly began to disperse and entered different locations in the North City Cemetery. Then they took out all the things in the black boxes. They were thin wooden poles with brass bells tied on them. These thin poles were inserted in various locations in the public cemetery. They worked for a whole morning to include the entire North City Cemetery in the coverage of these bells. The distance between each bell was about 100 meters. The dozen martial arts masters, holding white bells, stood at the outermost edge of the cemetery. When all the brass bells were inserted, they began to act. The faint essence was injected into the white bells in their hands, and then they began to shake these bells. Dingling dingling, dingling dingling. The sound quickly rang in the cemetery, and the yellow bells in the cemetery also moved without wind in the sound of the bells. In the air around, a ray of light surged towards the brass bells. For a moment, the whole pastoral area remembered the faint bell sound. The bell sound seemed to have a mysterious power, and infinite faint white light gathered towards the whole pastoral area. With the brass bells as the center, the light was attracted, and the area became brighter and brighter. In just 10 minutes, the cemetery area was shrouded in this white light. This white light was pure and holy, as if everything beautiful was in it, especially the mysterious bell sound. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 245. But the ringtone was inaudible to ordinary people. It was a sound that transcended human hearing. In this infinite light, twisted resentful spirits floated out of many graves. But it seems that this light has mysterious power, a kind of ethereal and transcendent power. The black resentment was quickly assimilated by the white light. Gradually, illusory and smooth figures appeared above these tombs one by one. Inexplicably, they began to turn into countless light spots and slowly disappear. Eventually, the entire tomb area became empty and pure, and the gloomy feeling that had previously shrouded the tomb area completely disappeared. At this time, many people noticed something unusual here, and some even took out their mobile phones to take pictures here. In the Honglian Prime Minister's residence, Tong Shenzi looked solemnly towards the north of the city. A faint black light flickered in his eyes, and various levels of energy between heaven and earth appeared in his eyes. The northern sky can be seen enveloped in a pure white light. The black resentment, yin, and all kinds of negative energy shrouded there are quickly disappearing. Huh? This is the pure spirit divine sound, the purification formation of the goddess section. It seems that the Red Lotus Empire has gained the legacy of many sections. Thinking of this, there was a trace of gloom in his eyes. This means that the Red Lotus Empire is not completely ignorant of various levels of techniques. It seems we need to be more cautious. An inexplicable sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Prime Minister, it depends on your choice next time. There was a hint of coldness in his eyes, and a hint of ruthlessness appeared on Tong Shenzi's face. Everything that happened in the northern cemetery quickly aroused widespread heated discussion on the forum. Countless people are discussing whether it is related to what happened last night. Various gossip information and revelations from caring people. In fact, most people in the Honglian world know what happened in the northern part of Honglian City last night. It's just that the empire doesn't admit it, so others can only listen and see. In addition, they didn't have much to do with them in the first place, so naturally most of them were just watching the fun. In the everything room, Brandy came to Lin Yi excitedly. Store manager, you see someone is performing a purification ceremony in the North District Cemetery. Lin Yi looked at the mobile phone handed over by Brandy, and raised his eyebrows slightly. The pure white light on it enveloped the entire cemetery. To the naked eye, there seemed to be nothing there except pure white light, and nothing strange could be seen. With a flash of green light in his eyes, he saw something unusual. The grievances were purified in this light and turned into figures one after another. These people had slowly turned into points of light in the light and disappeared without a trace. Lin Yi couldn't help but shook his head. The empire moves very quickly. It immediately starts to solve the problem when it finds it. Now, I'm afraid there won't be any danger in the North District graveyard in a short time. Lin Yi didn't pay too much attention to the issue of the grave in the North District. Lin Yi looked at Brandy. In the recent troubled times, you should also work hard to gain practical experience. If something like last night happens again, we won't be in a hurry. As he spoke, Lin Yi looked at Absinthe and said, "Absinthe, I'll give you a task." Hearing this, Absinthe frowned and looked at Lin Yi, with a trace of doubt in his eyes. After closing the store in the evening, you can train Brandy's practical experience to stop him from being too useless. As long as his life safety and health are guaranteed, you can abuse him however you want. When Absinthe heard this, a smile suddenly appeared on his face, and his distortion was full of excitement. This is really an honor. I will train him well. As he spoke, Absinthe's eyes looked at Brandy like a wolf looking at a rabbit, full of interest. Brandy looked at Lin Yi in horror. He never expected that he would come over and spread gossip to Lin Yi excitedly. Why did the topic suddenly turn to training yourself? Looking at the excited Absinthe, Brandy suddenly trembled. Store manager, I am a good young man. Fighting and killing are not suitable for me at all. Please allow me to refuse. Lin Yi glanced at Brandy and said, rejection is invalid. Who told you to be so dishonest last night? It's a shame for me. No, store manager, it's not my fault. I'm not a combatant in the first place. Brandy readily began to make excuses for herself to cover up her timidity. However, Lin Yi ignored him and waved to him like a fly, "Go away, don't disturb me, I want to study." Ring ring ring. A man and woman pushed open the door and walked into the Wansawa room, interrupting Brandy and Lin Yi's conversation. "We're picking up the guests," Lin Yi said calmly while looking at Brandy. Brandy looked sad. He knew that things were irreversible, so he could only force a smile and came in front of the couple. "Guests, please sit here. Do you want something to eat?" Vodka's tall body stood at the entrance of the corridor, watching everything happening in the lobby quietly. He is observing secretly and learning all the information about the world. At this time, Lin Yi looked at him, with a smile on his face, which immediately alerted Vodka. He quickly put on a flattering smile on his face and nodded and bowed towards Lin Yiwan, showing his harmlessness. He didn't know that due to the contract, all his thoughts could not escape Lin Yi's monitoring. Lin Yi turned his gaze from Vodka back to the jade box on the table. Inside were the last 2 levels of the Great Power Vajra seal, but he did not plan to learn it now. If he did not reach the realm, it would only add to his troubles. At this time, the idea of Vodka flashed through his mind. This guy is quite restless. Is he looking for my weakness? It is not so easy to turn the tables. But this guy's power is very strange. It is actually a power that comes from blood. In the Red Lotus realm, I have never heard of any power that comes from blood. Could it be that the places where Vodka and Absinthe are located are unknown time and space? That is not impossible. But the Wish Shrine can be connected to the unknown world through a contract, which means that the strange power does not only exist in the Red Lotus realm. I wonder if the upper echelons of the Red Lotus Empire know the existence of the other world. Countless thoughts and ideas passed through his mind. Lin Yi slowly got up, took the things on the table and walked towards the bedroom. Soon he returned to the bedroom. He took out his supernatural event book and prepared to record the information of this case. Case number 25. Time, March 5, 2020, Red Lotus Calendar. Location, slums in the North City of Red Lotus City. Event, large-scale disappearances in the North City. Black-clothed blood department mission. Go to the North City with the mission, contact Zhongling, and after investigation, calculation, and excavation, find out. The incident was caused by several different dangerous existences. Some of the incidents were caused by moving thatched houses, and some were caused by mutant corpses at the bottom of the Corpse Blue River. During the execution of the case, a special conscription mission occurred. A large number of mutant corpses in red-haired shrouds appeared in the North City, which was related to the corpse theft incident in the tomb area of Red Lotus City some time ago. It is suspected that there is a major conspiracy behind it. At the same time, due to a large number of casualties, a strange force from another world invaded, causing the corpse to mutate into something similar to a strange existence. The incident contains huge unknown risks. The next day, the Empire purified the northern tomb area to eliminate potential dangers. This mission is very complicated, indicating that the situation in the Red Lotus realm is becoming more and more chaotic. Items obtained after completing the mission: black stone slab for moving the thatched house, the last 2 levels of the Vajra seal of the human immortal path, and 1000 gold coins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 246. Looking at the events he recorded, Lin Yi nodded with satisfaction. It's the 25th case without realizing it. There are 8 more cases this year and last year. The impact of the world's changes seems to be showing more and more obviously. With a trace of solemnity in his eyes, Lin Yi felt that an unknown oppression seemed to cover the whole world. Lin Yi slowly got up and picked up the strange object he got yesterday, the black stone slab that moved the thatched house. So what changes will this strange object bring to my Wanchaiwu? With a hint of interest in his eyes, he quickly came to the backyard. He looked at the small courtyard, his palm flashed, and a summoning picture book appeared on it. He took out the strange object fused in the backyard. Then he placed the black stone slab on the ground in the backyard. As the black stone slab was placed on the ground, the black soil ground began to collapse like a swamp. The black stone slab sank silently under the ground. A faint mysterious wave spread from the position of the black stone slab to the entire Wanchaiwu. 1 minute later, this fluctuation completely merged with the Wanchaiwu. At this time, Lin Yi felt the difference of the Wanchaiwu. His mind was connected to the strange magic cube, and at the same time, a message appeared in his mind. This message came from the black stone slab of the mobile thatched house. Interesting, this is really interesting. In the information he obtained, he knew something that shocked him. At this moment, the Wanchaiwu can move in space. Lin Yi can move the Wanchaiwu to any place he has been to. The prerequisite is that there must be enough power to move the black stone slab of the thatched house, and it must also be a place Lin Yi has been to. This change made him feel incredible. This is simply turning the Wanchaiwu into a mobile fortress. As long as the power is enough, I can go anywhere. Even the unknown world, but the prerequisite is that I have been to a place. Then it is necessary to form a gate through the wish shrine. In an instant, Lin Yi has thought of how to make full use of this ability. First, he can use the power of the wish shrine to go to the unknown world, and then move the entire Wanchaiwu to the mobile thatched house. This means that he will have an absolutely safe base, and no one will be able to threaten him in the future. He couldn't help but think of the various world shuttle systems that appeared in the online novels of his previous life. I am building a system by myself? I am too awesome. Shocked, complicated, incredible, all kinds of emotions flashed through Lin Yi's mind. He suddenly felt that he might reach an unprecedented height. However, after the excitement, Lin Yi quickly regained his calm. It is not so easy to use this ability. First of all, the mobile thatched house black stone slab must store enough power to be able to move. Secondly, depending on the distance, the power consumed must be different. Moving across the world, just thinking about it, you can judge that the power required is not that simple. And whether the mobile thatched house can move across the world is also a huge problem. So what we need to do now is to make the most accurate judgment of the boundaries of this mobile thatched house. For example, how much power you accumulate determines how far you can move. At this time, his mind was connected to the strange magic cube and connected to the black stone slab of the mobile thatched house. The next moment, a map appeared in his mind. The dots of light formed this map. Lin Yi closed his eyes and observed the map that appeared in his consciousness with a little surprise. The so-called map is not like a real map. It is simply composed of countless light points, and many viewpoints connected to each other form a ray of light. When Lin Yi's mind focused on a certain light point, he knew that the light point represented a place he had been to. Sewer sewage treatment center, Lan Kuaifang, Hell Bar, etc. All the places he had been to appeared in his mind, forming an intermittent map. At the same time, in the center of this map was a group of black light points, and this group of black light was very weak, even a little illusory. Instinctively, Lin Yi knew what was going on. This is a sign of insufficient strength, and more strength is needed. This section of light spots will become brighter, and then he can use the power represented by this group of light spots. Slowly opening his eyes, Lin Yi thought, moving the thatched house requires accumulating strength, so what is strength? Flesh and blood life? Tempting strange existence. It seems that it takes a deep attempt. With an idea in mind, Lin Yi knew what to do next, but this matter needs to be done slowly, and there is no need to be anxious. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi returned to his bedroom and began to study the biggest gain this time. In his heart, the Yiling Jing opened a new chapter. There is a brand new set of seals, a total of 108 seals. When Lin Yi memorized the set of seals, a sense of solemnity rose in his heart. This set of seals is more difficult and has more numbers than the previous two sets. It will require more strange power and produce a stronger effect. It's really exciting. Lin Yi was completely immersed in the practice of the new Yiling Jing, forgetting to eat and sleep, and completely lost his sense of time. A few days had passed in the blink of an eye. In the Prime Minister's residence, Dong Gong Taiyu came to Tongshen's courtyard again. The two sat opposite each other, tasting the spirit tea, with a peaceful expression and a peaceful atmosphere. After sipping tea for a while, Dong Gong Taiyu looked at Tongshenzi and said slowly, "Mr. Tongshenzi, I wonder how your sect discussed my last proposal." Tongshenzi looked serious and looked at Dong Gong Taiyu. "The masters have passed on the news that this matter can be granted to you. But this matter is of great significance and involves a wide range of people. My sect also has requirements. If you can do it, we can do these things, but if you can't do these things, we can only give up." Dong Gong Taiyu smiled faintly when he heard this. "Mr. Tongshenzi, please tell me what your requirements are." Tongshenzi looked at Dong Gong Taiyu and smiled slightly. "This matter is not difficult, but it is not simple. My sect hopes that the Prime Minister can include Xuanhuan Mountain in the name of the group company supported by my section." Dong Gong Taiyu frowned when he heard this. Xuanhuan Mountain is not an ordinary place. It is a famous scenic spot and is also ranked in the top 30 mountains in the entire Red Lotus realm. There have been countless myths and legends about it since ancient times, and it is now owned by a large group company. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 247. It is not easy to take over Xuanhuan Mountain from the other party. It is a big project to bring in money. Imagine how much profit a huge scenic spot can bring. And it is a solid profit gain. Even with his power, it is not easy to get it done. Taking a deep breath, his eyes fell on Tongshenzi. I want to ask you why you want Xuanhuan Mountain. This is our division's secret. It's not convenient to tell the Prime Minister. As he spoke, Tang Shenzi picked up the Lingren tea on the tea table, took a sip and said no more. Dong Gong Taiyo looked at Tang Shenzi and knew that there was no room for maneuver in this matter. He took a sip of tea carefully, with a trace of thought in his eyes. I can grant you this request. Tang Shenzi smiled slightly when he heard this. Okay, since the Prime Minister has agreed, then we will not make a mistake. When Xuanhuan Mountain is officially transferred to our name, the Master will use its resources and foundation to start a plan to help you replenish your dragon energy. First, Xiang Dong Gong Taiyo looked at Tang Shenzi with a glint in his eyes. What should we do specifically? Tang Shenzi's voice was low. It's going to be like this. Early in the morning, everything in the house was already bustling. Brandy, vodka, and absinthe were cleaning, preparing various ingredients, and enjoying their breakfast. Especially the vodka. One person had to eat enough for 5 people, and there were 10 steaks in front of him. Lin Yi had 5 pieces of steak in front of him, his eyes looking at the vodka. I feel like I did something wrong and brought back a pure big eater. He raised his eyebrows and said, we can't let this guy just eat and drink like this all day long. I have to find a way to make full use of this guy's power to work for me and make money. Thinking of this, Lin Yi's eyes already showed a dangerous light. Vodka, who was enjoying his meal, felt cold all over and noticed the strange look in Lin Yi's eyes. He felt that maybe something bad was going to happen. He couldn't help but look at Lin Yi with a forced smile on his face. Store manager, it's weird that you look at me like that. Is something wrong? At this time, Vodka looked completely less ferocious than when he first came here, and was as obedient as a 500-pound child. Although this is only on the surface, his heart is still cold and fierce. You eat too much. I think you need to do some other things to make up for your living expenses. Looking at Lin Yi, who had a slightly painful expression on his face and looked at the steak on his plate, Vodka's face showed a trace of both laughter and tears. At this time, Kuei Zhu on the side seemed to have discovered something. As a wraith, he did not need to eat human food. Seeing the current scene, he immediately added something jealous and said, that's right, store manager, don't you know how much coffee he drinks every day? How much food he eats? It's enough to feed 10 people in total, and it consumes at least 1 gold coin every day. Lin Yiwen's brows suddenly jumped. What? A gold coin? The store's profit per day is only 1 gold coin, right? Isn't this a shame? Having said this, Lin Yi's eyes showed a dangerous light, and his gaze swept over Vodka. From head to toe, it's like watching a prey. Where is the best place to start? A feeling of death instantly enveloped Vodka's heart. With his scalp numb, he immediately said, Manager, I played a huge role in the past few days. When you were not here, I killed many slaves. A strange existence from another world. Lin Yi had already told them what happened in the Wanchaiwu house, so they also knew what they killed that day. Lin Yi's gloomy eyes relaxed slightly after hearing Vodka's words. From today on, it will be your job to keep vigil every night. You can rest in the morning during the day, and you have to get up in the afternoon and continue working for me. Use your labor to earn living expenses. People had to lower their heads under the eaves, and Vodka could only nod quickly and said, yes, store manager, I understand. A breakfast ended in harmony and a brand new story was playing on the news. Yesterday, the Xuanhuan Mountain Scenic Area project belonging to the Beilong Group in Honglianzhou was transferred to the Wu Group for 300 billion, which attracted worldwide attention. Xuanhuan Mountain has beautiful scenery. Under the development of Beilong Group, it has already become a mature scenic spot, with annual revenue exceeding 5 billion. This sudden sale to Wu Group was decided by a vote of internal shareholders of Beilong Group. Lin Yi looked at the news with envy in his eyes. 300 billion. I don't know how long it will take me to earn so much money. Thinking of this, his eyes were filled with dollar signs, and he seemed to be caught in some mysterious reverie. The news continues. 7 or 8 murders of various forms appeared in the news in a row, making Brandy on the side frown. The number of cases has increased so fast these days. Lin Yi nodded when he heard this. It's indeed strange. Be careful when you go out these days. There may be danger at any time. Brandy nodded as quickly as quail. He was a timid man, afraid of danger and death, even if he has now reached the top level. Just when Lin Yi was enjoying a peaceful day, the doorbell rang and an irritable voice sounded. Is the owner of the Xuanhuan here? The familiar voice attracted Lin Yi's attention and he looked in the direction of the voice. It was a guest who had been here before, Hong Liang, a cruel rich businessman. He saw Lin Yi sitting in front of the French window and walked over to sit opposite him. Pa! A purse fell directly on Lin Yi's desk. I have something I need you to help me solve. Lin Yi looked at Hong Liang, the fat man, calmly. The other party seemed to be fatter than the last time he saw him. But he had heavy dark bags under his eyes, and it seemed that he did not sleep well last night. Looking at the purse on the table, there were about 10 gold coins. Now Lin Yi's worth has skyrocketed, and 10 gold coins have no appeal to him. He, 10 gold coins might be a bit too low for me. Hong Liang's forehead suddenly bulged when he heard this. What? 10 gold coins are too little for you? This is 10 gold coins. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Lin Yi bargaining with him. Lin Yi glanced at Hong Liang who was yelling and spitting on his face. If you think you can't accept it, then turn right when you go out, and leave slowly. Lin Yi looked at him calmly. You dare to bargain with me? Do you know who I am? The house of everything I created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 248. I am Hong Liang. I am a big businessman, and my family is aristocratic, Hong Liang said arrogantly. Lin Yi glanced at the man called Hong Liang, and said with a smile, First, I don't care who you are. Second, even if you are a big businessman and were aristocrat before, it has nothing to do with me. Third, I charge money for my work. If you don't pay enough, why should I help you? Since you are so powerful, just solve your own problems. Why are you looking for me? Are you crazy? Lin Yi pointed his right hand at his head, implying that the other party had a problem with his head. A series of words spurted out, making Hong Liang's face red and swollen. Since he encountered the problem, he had already found several masters he had just met recently, but they couldn't solve it for him. He was forced to come to the Xuanhuan because he was desperate. In fact, he didn't have too much hope when he came here, he just wanted to try it. In his heart, the masters he knew couldn't solve it. He didn't think that the manager of the Xuanhuan could solve the problem for him. Spending 10 gold coins is just for a hope and a try. But Lin Yi bargained with him, which made him, who was already irritable, instantly angry. Lin Yi said a few words back, and his long-term businessman nature quickly took effect, staring at Lin Yi with cold eyes. How much do you want? Lin Yi looked him up and down. It depends on what the matter is. It's just 100 gold coins for the appearance fee. Whether the problem is solved successfully or not, it belongs to me. Hong Liang heard this, and his eyebrows were blue again. What? 100 gold coins? Are you robbing? Even the appearance fee of a second-rate star is only 100 gold coins. Lin Yi rolled his eyes at him. If you think it's not worth it, then go and invite a second-rate star. Looking at the lazy Lin Yi, Hong Liang felt that his inner anger was about to burst, and took a deep breath. He stood up and walked out of the Xuanhuan. A few minutes later, a large bag of money slammed on Lin Yi's desk. Here are 100 gold coins. Lin Yi's eyebrows jumped slightly when he saw the money. First of all, these 100 gold coins are just appearance fees. If you solve it, give me 10 times more. Hearing this, Hong Lian-ke could no longer hold back his anger. Bang! He slapped Lin Yi on the table, 1,000 gold coins. Are you crazy because of poverty? Looking at Hong Lian-ke, whose eyes were blazing and seemed to be about to run and pounce, Lin Yi smiled faintly. Again, if you are willing, we will make a deal. If you are not willing, turn right and leave. Goodbye. Hong Lian-ke took a few deep breaths, his face even a little ferocious, looking at Lin Yi. Okay, I want to see if you are qualified to ask for a high price. If you dare to fool me, I will definitely let you know what the consequences of fooling me will be. Lin Yi smiled faintly and looked at Hong Lian-ke. Since you have agreed, sit down and tell me what's going on first. At the bar, Brandy looked at Lin Yi in surprise. He didn't expect Lin Yi to offer such a high price this time, directly 1,000 gold coins. Absinthe and vodka stood at the bar, looking towards Hong Liang-ke, as if they were very interested in the current situation. Hong Liang-ke looked gloomy, looked at Lin Yi, and began to whisper the reason why he came to his house this time. I have nightmares every day these days, dreaming that something is chasing me. Not only me, but also my son and my grandmother. Every night, I will dream that something is chasing us, and we will sleepwalk unconsciously. Now I want you to help me solve this problem. There must be something entangled in our family. Looking at Hong Liang-ke, whose eyes were cold and full of murderous intent, Lin Yi smiled faintly. This is quite normal. Hong Liang-ke narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? His tone was a little cold, as if he had an inexplicable anger towards Lin Yi. I said it's normal because your family has done a lot of bad things, and there will always be all kinds of troubles that can't find you. So it's normal for your whole family to encounter such things, not surprising at all. The veins on Hong Lian-ke's forehead were throbbing. If he hadn't been waiting for Lin Yi's answer, he might have jumped up. Lin Yi glanced at Hong Lian-ke. I roughly understand the situation. I will go and see the situation in person tonight. After seeing it, I can determine whether this matter can be resolved. Hearing this, Hong Lian-ke suppressed his anger. Okay, I have moved back to Hong Lian Mansion, come over tonight. After saying that, he didn't look back, slammed the door and walked out of the Wanchaiwu without looking back. As he walked, the fat on his body was trembling, as if he was trying his best to suppress his anger. When Hong Lian-ke left, Brandy came over with a strange look on his face. Manager, your attitude towards him is not very good. I have never seen you treat customers like this before. Lin Yi glanced at Brandy. This guy came in and threw 10 gold coins in front of me. It is obvious that he doesn't take me seriously at all. If someone doesn't give me face, I won't give him face either. But I don't see too many signs of resentment on this guy. He might be entangled by something troublesome. Whether he can complete the task this time is another matter. At this point, Lin Yi's eyes showed a trace of contemplation. He had just used the true destiny interpretation to look at Hong Lian-ke. But strangely, he did not find any abnormal traces on Hong Lian-ke, and even the resentment was very little. This person did not have many real lives. And these resentments were not enough to have a real impact on it. Lin Yi had seen this level of resentment on many rich people, but these resentments were usually suppressed by their aura. That was the aura of the person himself. Because of this, Lin Yi felt that this matter was not simple. There might be something else going on. After all, it affected Hong Lian-ke's son and his grandmother. This was obviously a strange phenomenon from the bloodline. It was not an ordinary resentful spirit, but more like a strange phenomenon. Time came to night in a blink of an eye, and Lin Yi went to Hong Lian Mansion alone. This time, he only brought the strange child and the two-headed dog in his summoning album. The purple corpse monster and the bad doctor were placed in the Wanchaiwu by him. It was already 9 o'clock in the middle of the night, and some people who were used to going to bed early had already fallen asleep. The street lights were on, and Lin Yi was walking on the street. There was a bright moon in the sky, and silver light was scattered. Lin Yi walked very slowly, and the light of the true destiny in his eyes kept flashing. He was watching the streets at night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 249. Some illusory shadows kept appearing on the street and then disappeared. They were all some unformed vengeful spirits. They didn't even have any special abilities, nor any reason, and were in an unstable state. They were just walking instinctively according to some old habits. The number of vengeful spirits has increased a lot. There weren't so many before the Second World Change. The number has increased at least 3 times. Lin Yi could naturally sense that the whole world was becoming more and more weird. The first thing that was reflected was these invisible vengeful spirits. They had not reached a certain level, so they could not really appear in reality. Even in Lin Yi's true destiny, they sometimes disappeared suddenly and appeared suddenly. When they disappeared, it was as if they entered an unknown world. These unformed vengeful spirits in Honglian City began to appear in large numbers. It seems that the situation is getting more and more complicated. My plan must also be accelerated. Thinking of this, he shook his head involuntarily. The shops on both sides of the street are full of various shops. The accumulation of various products in the industrial age has brought great material abundance. The living standard of mankind has been continuously improved and entered a level of comprehensive development. The only thing that remains unchanged is that the poor will still be poor in the world of capital. It took about half an hour for Lin Yi to arrive outside the Honglian mansion. Standing outside the walled gate, he pressed the doorbell. This is a visual doorbell. Soon, the security guard in the monitoring room of the Honglian mansion saw Lin Yi's appearance. The voice of the security guard sounded, "This is the Honglian mansion. Who are you? Who are you looking for? What's the matter?" Lin Yi answered 3 questions in a row. "My name is Lin Yi, I'm from the Wanchaiwu, looking for Honglian K, he paid me to help him." Hearing the 3 words Honglian K, the security guard's tone instantly became respectful. "Mr. Lin, please wait a moment, I want to report to the head of the family." On the 2nd floor of the Honglian mansion, in Honglian K's bedroom, he was wearing pajamas, sitting at his desk drinking a glass of rum, his face gloomy, and I don't know what he was thinking. He looked at an old notebook in front of him, and his eyes became more gloomy. At this time, the phone on his desk rang. After frowning, he answered the phone. "What's the matter?" "Master, there is a Mr. Lin outside. He said you asked him to come." Hung Liang said in a low voice, "Let him in." Click, click, click. The electronic remote control door slowly opened, and Lin Yi once again stepped into the Honglian mansion. Walking along the road towards the mansion deep in the garden, the street lights were bright, illuminating all the dark corners. A few minutes later, he came to the gate of the mansion, and a 50-year-old middle-aged man in a butler's uniform was waiting for him. After seeing Lin Yi, he nodded slightly. "Hello, Mr. Lin, I am the housekeeper of the mansion, please follow me." Entering the mansion, the ground on the 1st floor that was damaged by the battle has returned to its original state. After all, several months have passed, and it is common for everything to return to its original state. Following the housekeeper, he soon came to a living room on the 2nd floor. The butler said to Lin Yi, "Mr. Lin, please take a rest here. The master will be here soon." Lin Yi nodded and sat casually on the sofa. At this time, the butler looked at him. "What would you like to drink, Mr. Lin?" Lin Yi glanced at the courteous butler. "A glass of water will do." "Okay, please wait." Looking at the butler who left, Lin Yi raised his eyebrows. The rules of the Honglian family are really interesting. This butler does not have any unnecessary movements in every move. He has a certain martial arts cultivation and has undergone strict etiquette training. Then why would such a family have someone like Honglian, who is rude, cruel, and dark? He had already investigated the Honglian family, which is a family of at least hundreds of years. The ancestors were nobles of the previous dynasty. This family has a deep foundation and has been able to develop to the present. It is still a powerful class, which means that there must be strict family rules. And the heirs who appear under this family rule system should generally not be people like Honglian, at least in terms of calmness. It seems that this family has many problems, but they have nothing to do with me. Lin Yi analyzed it a little and saw a lot of things. At this time, the door of the living room was pushed open, and Hong Liang walked in step by step. Poof! The fat body sat on the sofa, and his eyes looked at Lin Yi. What should I do next? I want to solve this trouble as soon as possible. Lin Yi glanced at him. I said I have to take a look first before I can tell you if it can be solved. Hong Liang's face sank when he heard this. How do you want to see it? You said that when you dreamed that something was chasing you, and then you would sleepwalk. Yes, not only me, but also my 2 sons and my grandmother. Lin Yivinian nodded. Then you go to bed first. I will guard the door of your bedroom and watch you until you show sleepwalking behavior. Hong Liang's face trembled when he heard this. Okay. Without saying any more nonsense, let's go to the bedroom. At this time, the housekeeper of Honglian mansion was standing at the door with a glass of water. Seeing Honglian and Lin Yi coming out, he said respectfully, Master. He would stand guard at the door of my bedroom and prepare a chair for him. Yes, Master. The two came to Hong Liang's bedroom. Hong Liang's bedroom is very large, at least hundreds of square meters, and his bed is in the center of the bedroom. A classic large bed with a pure black wooden structure, 3 meters long and 1.5 meters wide. The wooden structure is engraved with various exquisite carvings. There is an exquisite desk next to his bed, at least 2 meters long and antique. Hong Liang stood at the gate and looked at Lin Yi. Butler, I will arrange a seat for you later, and I will go to bed. Hopefully you can figure out the reason for this whole thing. Hong Liang glanced at Lin Yi indifferently. At this time, Hong Liang was very cold and spoke very little. He looked a little strange. If it weren't for Lin Yi's interpretation of the true destiny, he could judge that all the vital signs of the person in front of him were exactly the same as Hong Liang. He really thought that Hong Liang was a different person. Lin Yi shrugged, okay. Soon the housekeeper brought a chair, and Lin Yi took it and sat inside the bedroom door. The housekeeper also sat next to him with a chair, looking calmly at Hong Liang's bed, who had already fallen asleep on the bed. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 250. Lin Yi glanced at the housekeeper, and he naturally knew that the other person was here to monitor him and prevent him from doing anything dangerous. Turning his eyes to look at Hung Grank, he could see that the other person had not yet fallen asleep. The room quickly became completely quiet. There was no sound at all, only the faint sound of breathing. The breathing sounds of Lin Yi and the housekeeper were so weak that they could hardly be heard. When warriors have cultivated to their level, their organ functions are naturally very powerful. It was Gurenki's breathing that was worrying due to obesity. After the quiet time lasted for about an hour, Hung Grank's breath began to stabilize, which was a sign of falling into sleep. Lin Yi looked at him calmly, with a hint of solemnity in his eyes. Green light flashed in his eyes, and he saw something wrong with Hong Liang. There was an inexplicable power in the other person's body, and he began to stir as he fell asleep. Then Hung Grank slowly stood up, got out of bed with bare feet, and started walking. He walked towards the door slowly, step by step, very slowly. Lin Yi saw him like this and immediately said to the housekeeper, Get out of the way and open everyone's doors. Let's follow him and see where he goes. Hearing this, the housekeeper didn't talk nonsense. He quickly took out his walkie-talkie and notified the servants who managed the gates. The two of them followed Hong Lian and watched him leave the gate, pass through the gate of Hong Lian mansion, and walk outside. Soon they walked onto a street, and the housekeeper frowned as he looked at Hung Grank walking barefoot. "Mr. Lin, are we just going to watch like this?" Lin Yi smiled faintly, "Of course, otherwise." About 10 minutes later, they were far away from the Hong Lian mansion. The streets were deserted except for the flickering street lights. At this moment, Lin Yi suddenly focused his eyes. A woman in red appeared in front of the road. Under the illumination of the street lamp, he walked towards them step by step. Lin Yi's eyes flashed with his true destiny, and he immediately sensed something was wrong. He dodged behind Gurenki and grabbed him directly. An injection of essence instantly caused a sharp pain in his body. Severe pain arose, and Hung Liang woke up immediately. At this time, the butler behind him quickly followed up. After seeing the butler, the confused Hong Liang suddenly came back to his senses. "What's going on, where are we?" The housekeeper said, "Master, we followed you sleepwalking into the street. Mr. Lin said we wanted to see where you were going." Only then did Hung Liang come to his senses. At this time, Lin Yi stared at the woman in red who was approaching the street in front of the street, and said in a deep voice, "Let's go. Something dangerous is coming." Hong Liang looked in the direction Lin Yi was looking and was suddenly surprised. He also noticed the strange woman in red, and instinctively felt a sense of crisis. He quickly stood up and said to the housekeeper, "What is it? Go quickly and don't get caught." But the moment they stood up, a voice sounded behind them. "Am I beautiful?" The frightened faces of the two looked behind them, a face covered by black hair. The dress was a bloody color, and only then did the two of them notice. "This dress is constantly dripping with bright red blood, and the clothes are now stained red by blood." Hong Liang and his butler's scalps instantly went numb, and fear almost froze their hearts. Looking at the red figure in front of them, they couldn't even say a word. The death instinct enveloped them, gradually paralyzing their lungs. A cold voice sounded in their ears, "Am I beautiful?" Lin Yi's voice rang in the ears of Hong Liang and the housekeeper. "Hong Liang, this thing does not belong to our trading scope. Do you want to survive?" As he spoke, Lin Yi put his hand on his shoulder. A faint spiritual wave flickered, and the fear that filled Hong Liang's body instantly dissipated, and he regained control of his body. His instinctive fear was still reminding him that the woman in red in front of him was terrifying to a degree that he could not imagine. "What do you want?" His mind became sharp again, and he knew what Lin Yi meant. "If I save you, I'll give you 1,000 gold coins. I'll transfer the money immediately after saving you." Hung Liang heard this and said without saying a word, "Okay." He is very realistic. You can make more money, but you only have one life. Once you die, you will have nothing. So no matter what conditions Lin Yi put forward, he would agree. Hearing Hung Liang agree so readily, Lin Yi felt that he was short of 10,000 gold coins. At this time, Lin Yi's left hand had already held the summoning album. Two-headed dogs and strange children were summoned by him. Just listen to his voice ringing in the ears of Hong Liang and the housekeeper. "When I tell you to run, run immediately and don't look back." Lin Yi slapped the butler, and with the power of Lingbo, he also regained control of his body. The two nodded silently without speaking. At this time, the red-clothed figure in front of them slowly raised his head and looked at them with a pair of dark eyes. The upper part of this face is very delicate and beautiful, and even a pair of black eyes look very moving. But this beautiful face is incomplete, with the lower part starting from the tip of the nose. It was a piece of black skin that was dry and cracked, as if it had been burnt. Even her lips no longer existed, only a piece of burnt black teeth slowly opened and she spoke for the third time. Am I pretty? This time, the red figure began to walk towards Hong Lianke and the other two step by step. Endless black resentment permeated from her body, and with her as the center, the street seemed to have become two worlds. The world where the red figure was dead and dark, without any hope. This world was spreading towards them. The two-headed dog and the strange child had already stood in front of Hong Lianke and the housekeeper. Lin Yi's voice rang in the ears of Hong Lianke and the other two, "Run." The two turned around and ran towards the direction of Hong Lian mansion. At the same time, the two-headed dog spewed out a piece of black ice and fire, sweeping towards the spreading dead world. The strange child was surrounded by endless black smoke, which turned into countless tentacles and shot out towards the dead world. As soon as Hong Lianke and the other two moved, the red figure roared angrily and suddenly chased after them. Am I pretty? The eerie voice enveloped the two, making them tremble all over, but fear drove them to run away from here. The red-clothed figure chasing forward was also blocked by the black ice and firestorm and countless tentacles. The red-clothed figure burst out with endless resentment, and the area within a radius of 3 meters became a dead silent area, a space that was extremely dark. Cold and weird, the black ice and firestorm and countless black smoke tentacles all slowed down in this dead silent area.